Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty RoundTable Radio Talk Show.
Life is absolutely precious. Kai Trump, the golfing pro, granddaughter of the president, Sirius XM's Megyn Kelly, Joe Rogan, military investigations, high gas prices, self-driving cars. We got a lot to talk about, ladies and gentlemen. Happy to have you along. I'm Sam Bushman with hard-hitting news that networks refuse to use. And sometimes the most hard-hitting news isn't even political. Can you imagine all that? Yes, indeed. You're watching Liberty RoundTable Live. I'm Sam Bushman with news the networks refuse to use always. And there's an interesting tidbit on the highway. This man and wife were driving down the road. They saw this car getting crazy, all erratic and everything else. And, well, they, went, oh, my goodness, we're going to get in a car crash. But the good news is they were able to create highway heroes, is what it's being called. It went absolutely viral on the internet. And I want to talk about it because I think it's a real example of a lot of good happening. And rarely do you hear about it. Sometimes they go viral, and when they do, good, because we know about them. But I'm telling you, there's acts of heroism every single day by good people doing good things. Whether it's somebody giving a waitress or somebody else a big tip, or somebody, rewarding people in different ways. Something as simple as a kind smile to brighten up somebody's day. I mean, there's good things that happen all the time in the country, and I wish, oh, how I wish we could make that more prominent in our society and in the media. The media loves if it bleeds, it leads kind of an idea. And I understand those stories get a lot of coverage and, in many ways, needfully so. But I think we could bring much more valuable stories to the table. Check out this video. The guy's name is Renee. He's driving his car. His wife in the passenger seat videos this whole thing. Here it is.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's in my truck.
Do not be by that 18-wheeler right now. Do not be by this 18-wheeler.
See, it's crazy.
Oh.
No. Somebody needs to stop him. What are we going to do?
I don't know.
What are we going to do? Oh, God. He's going to hit us. They're asleep, Renee. Oh. Oh, God. Oh, my God. Oh, God.
See?
Oh, God.
So this lady's saying this over and over.
God.
She doesn't mean to take the Lord's name in vain.
Oh, my God.
She's absolutely fearing for people's lives in this thing, right? It's just insane. But I guess what happens is they're able to basically move their car in position to connect both cars, to slow down the cars. They positioned his vehicle, saved the erratic SUV, whose driver basically turns out to be unconscious due to a medical condition. It wasn't some drunk or somebody just fell asleep or anything like that. After stopping the vehicles, I guess a nurse arrived at the scene. They administered CPR to the driver, who, again, I guess lost color and then eventually regained it, so almost literally died. Could have wrecked and killed all kinds of people. Fire officials reported that the driver was breathing when transported to the hospital, was later classified as a priority 1 case. That means a seriously life-threatening condition. The event was filmed, obviously, by his wife. It went viral. It has drawn significant praise for Renee. That's the man. He says he attributes his actions to a natural instinct to help those in need. He humorously remarked that he doesn't wear a cape, but he wears a welding cap. So it's like, hey, man, this guy's just a welder. He's driving in his car with his wife. They see this crazy thing go down. And this guy, in my opinion, was not only quite skilled, in my opinion, to be able to do that without causing a wreck or having both of them wreck and all this kind of stuff, or spinning into the medium or whatever. This guy was able to slow down both cars, help with a nurse administering CPR. Turns out, I guess, they saved this person's life, the person with the medical condition, and prevented further wrecks and things like that. I mean, I'm just saying, wow. It's times like this, in my humble opinion, my fellow Americans, where we really need to kind of think about it and go, we sure have a lot more in common than we have in fighting or in attacking one another or in deplatforming people, as the Republicans and the Democrats are like to do. When Joe was in office, all the Republicans were getting deplatformed. When they attacked January the 6th, when the government attacked the people, they claimed the people attacked the government. That they deplatformed President Trump. That was all Democrats and et cetera. And then now they're trying to deplatform liberals on, comedian, late night TV and everything else. And, but we deplatform people because we don't let people become humans. So let me ask you a question. What was the politics of this wife who filmed it? She kept saying, "Oh my God." And I don't think she meant to take the Lord's name in vain, although it could, I don't like the use of that word very much. But I know that in her heart, she was thinking, "Oh my heavens. Oh my goodness. What are we going to do? Oh, this is dangerous." And she was just kind of freaking out for not only her life and, but the life of other, people around this incident and everything else. She meant well. She was concerned. Her husband meant well. They're like, "What do we do?" They wanted to help. Now it turns out, he humorously remarked, "Hey, I don't have a cape. I'm just a welder." But, significant praise, right? Because, keeping calm, deciding to take action, looking out for, that's what you call love thy neighbor, right? Hey, let's see if we can't save everybody's lives here, stop the concern, help with the medical condition. Everything's right about this story, in my opinion. But here's the question for you all. Was the wife a Democrat or Republican? Was the wife left or right? Was the wife Donald Trump lover or Donald Trump hater? Or, as I like to call myself, a Donald Trump realist? What about the guy in the car that was the hero, that connected his car to that car, whatever, slowed them both down and saved lives? And what about the nurse that showed up on the scene? Republican, Democrat, love Thomas Massey, hate Thomas Massey, love Joe Rogan, hate Joe Rogan. What? We don't have any idea. We don't know about the nurse. We don't know about the people in the ambulance who took him to the hospital and saved his life. We don't know about the driver of the car or the passenger who videoed all this, or even the person that lost consciousness in a medical condition, a serious medical condition. We don't know about that person's politics. We don't know about the politics of any of these people. Let me ask you a more important question. Ready for it? Do we care? Let me ask that question again. I want you to really ponder my question. Do we care? Because, see, if we make it political, then what we need to do is hate this person and love this person and promote this person as a hero and a rock star, but this other person is horrible, the worst human being on the planet, or whatever you want to say. And right? But in my opinion, this is nothing but good all the way around by good people. Sadly, this person lost consciousness. I don't know how. I don't know enough about the medical condition, and I don't know about their politics, but I know I want to save their life. Their life has value. Their life is important. Their life was granted to them by God Almighty. And this person, I think it's a he that had a medical condition, is a son of God. And this person, the wife that filmed it and the husband that made this all happen, and the, sons and daughters of Almighty God. And so in critical situations like this, you set aside all those things. Those things become highly unimportant. What I mean by that is the political things, the disputes, the disagreements, the differings of opinion. What became paramount? Safety for those around them, the desire and willingness to take chances to save lives, right? This guy just basically said, "Hey, I don't know what's going on. I just had an instinct to help those in need." And I think that's in us all if we don't squelch it, if we don't shut it down, if we don't, right? And so I bring this story up, ladies and gentlemen, at the start of Liberty Roundtable Live today in an effort to set aside differences. We can have our opinions. We should be able to express our opinions. And when we do, we need to be civil about it, and I hope people can be civil, but it's really hard in our society to be civil. We've been taught that, hey, you fire back at somebody, right? If you do the Donald Trump method, hey, whatever attacks I get, I'm going to punch back, 10 times harder. We've all been taught that in our lives. I think that's society. I think we kind of believe in a little bit of the survival of the fittest. We believe in the guy that punches the hardest or has the best, response, could shut somebody else down, that's the guy that wins. And I think that's really a natural man, not a follower of God or a son or daughter of God Almighty, but a natural man or woman that kind of embraces that mentality. Hey, it's the survival of the fittest. I can dish it out, I can whatever. And I would like to take a step back from that. That's the reason for the segment. Okay? And I think this guy is a highway hero because he basically put all that, meaning love thy neighbor, above everything else and put his wife and himself in jeopardy to save a life. And then all those around him sprung into action as well and participated. That's America, baby. In my humble opinion, that's what we want America to be. I hope you agree. I'm Sam Bushman.
You know where the solution can be found, Mr. President? In churches, in wedding chapels, in maternity wards across the country and around the world. More babies will mean forward-looking adults, the sort we need to tackle long-term, large-scale problems. American babies in particular are likely going to be wealthier, better educated, and more conservation-minded than children raised in still industrializing countries. As economist Tyler Cowen recently wrote, quote, by having more children, you're making your nation more populous, thus boosting its capacity to solve climate change. The planet does not need for us to think globally and act locally so much as it needs us to think family and act personally. The solution to so many of our problems, at all times and in all places, is to fall in love, get married, and have some kids.
Looking for an IT partner that truly understands your needs? Managed IT Services is the answer. We meet with you regularly to discuss your goals and form a tailored technology plan. Our customers have called us a trusted advisor who delivers. When it comes to IT, we do it all. Firewalls, cloud storage, server migration, and more. Say goodbye to long-term contracts and hello to a team that earns your business month after month. Call 801-706-6980 now and let Managed IT Services transform your IT experience.
Have you ever had great honey? No, I mean really good, all-natural, raw honey? Well, now you can, thanks to localhoneyman.com. We can ship out our locally made honey all across the U.S. So don't worry, you won't miss out. Plus, Local Honeyman has so many different flavors, like Utah Wildflower, High Desert Delight, Happy Valley, and Blackberry, just to name a few. So purchase your delicious raw honey today at localhoneyman.com.
All right, that first video, I guess, was by BBC on TikTok, and it was recorded by the wife of the man who was the highway hero. What a great story, in my humble opinion. And I don't know how many of you saw it. I'm glad that it went viral, but I really wish viral's kind of one thing. It's viral in the TikTok world or what? I don't know how many people knew about the story. Let's just ask the people kind of on the set behind the scenes, the producers. Hey, Liz, Zach, Michael, did you guys know about that story? I didn't know about it until I saw it in the news. And so I don't think many of us knew about it. So when something even goes viral on TikTok, folks, you think everybody knows about it. It's not even close to true. Many of us don't really monitor TikTok on a daily basis. I mean, they basically kicked me off of TikTok. So, I'm a bad guy, I guess. But there you go. And so I find that very, very interesting. And I'd like that story to go, I don't know if you have to call it super viral, but to me, it's a great story with a real human interest viewpoint, a real care about life, care about people, set aside all things. When there's an emergency, think of the tornadoes happening across the country now. People are dying and it's very difficult weather. Think of the snowstorms and the flooding that have taken place this winter and everything else in certain places. It's almost like two winters, right? On one hand, you get, for me in Utah, it's been a really good mild winter. I mean, I wish we had more water, but I'm just saying but in some places it's been brutal. I mean, think about the Tennessee and how it got literally slam-basted, right? By ice and just crazy. And now you got these tornadoes. And, well, when those things happen, people set aside all these political differences. It doesn't matter, right? It's oftentimes governments that create that polarization. Remember the big storms that hit South Carolina and everything else a year or two ago, I guess? And then we found out that the Biden administration found out if you were a Trump supporter, they wouldn't use FEMA to help you. And if you were not a Trump supporter or you didn't have a Trump promoting sign or something like that, then they would help you. Okay, that kind of stuff. I believe governments and oftentimes thought leaders create this dissonance. Then the American people oftentimes fall for it and pile on. I would like to create a new era in America where we would, we can bring up things, but we could do so in a very kind, civil, appropriate way. So I've got a contrasting story that hit the news and went viral as well. Who's it about? It's about Kai Trump. Who's Kai? She's the eldest granddaughter of President Donald J. Trump. She posted a video on her YouTube channel featuring her shopping at a very expensive Santa Monica, California. She was accompanied by her service detail, Secret Service detail. The video initially was titled, "I brought my Secret Service to," and then this expensive store. Okay. It was later renamed to, quote, "I tried the world's most expensive grocery store." Anyway, during the video, she remarked humorously about the high prices, etc. Let's watch this, then I'll talk about why I'm bringing this up. Here it is. CNN gets the credit for this one.
Influencer granddaughter Kai Trump took her followers to one of the country's most expensive grocery stores, and now she's facing backlash over her video, "I brought my Secret Service to Erewhon."
Everything's crazy expensive. Someone need to file for bankruptcy.
In the video, which has hundreds of thousands of YouTube views, 18-year-old Kai browses the store and notes its outrageous prices before departing in her motorcade. She bought the $21 smoothie, $14 bottled water, and a $17 jar of dates.
I feel like I just got ripped off.
But held off on the $165 sweatshirt.
Yeah, how much are sweaters?
Yeah, the hoodie's $165.
Now, I should note that she debuted a sweatshirt collection with her initials at $130 last year. Kai Trump posted this video on March 8th, and that's about a week after the U.S. and Israeli forces launched military strikes on Iran. And she's been getting a lot of feedback. Several YouTube commenters telling her to join the draft, while others point to the high cost of living and just the political optics of her vlog.
The president's granddaughter is using your tax dollars to make YouTube videos.
We are in the middle of a war. Billions of taxpayer dollars are being wasted every single day, and a majority of Americans can't afford to live.
Completely and utterly tone deaf.
We've reached out to a spokesperson for Trump for comment.
Ladies and gentlemen, I don't even know how to respond to this. Okay? CNN turning this into a big news expose, but they don't cover this highway hero that I just covered. Wow, had to go to the BBC and TikTok for that one. But see, CNN brings this up, and they say during the video she marks about the high prices. But the footage displayed brief appearances of Secret Service agents and stuff, right? Kai Trump, age 18. She's a senior at the Benjamin School in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. She's going to go to the University of Miami and play golf, they say. She's the daughter of Donald Trump Jr. and his ex-wife, Vanessa Trump. And they say Kai stirred further attention at the Republican National Convention. She expressed her desire to avoid politics despite her connection to the Trump family. This backlash coincides with current societal tensions relating to the war, living costs, etc., etc. It goes on. But here's my point. Number one, this is an 18-year-old kid. Okay? Leave her alone. Okay? Lay off. Yes, she's rich. Okay? Trump is super rich. And the Trump family is incredibly wealthy. But you know what? There's thousands of kids that are going to private schools. Thousands of kids that are buying expensive things. Thousands of kids that are... And just because she happens to be Donald's granddaughter... Now we're going to pick on her and say, oh my gosh, she's totally tone deaf. How much does she really even know about politics as an 18-year-old kid? I don't know when she turned 18, but she probably hasn't even had the chance to vote yet, folks. And she expressed at this Republican convention her desire not to be involved in politics, really, right? She wanted to avoid politics. Now you say, well, why would she speak at the Republican National Convention then? I don't know. You know, maybe President Trump used that to help people understand that he has kids and grandkids and he's more like you than you might think. Politicians do that kind of stuff all the time. You say, well, we usually leave kids out of it, Sam, but she's 18 now, so she's an adult. And hey, you know what? And so they're saying she's tone deaf, she's this, she's that, and she's getting this relentless attack. Now, I could never go to that store. But, you know, whether she's being used for politics or not, I don't know. Why she would do this video in the first place, not really sure. She has a lot of followers. A lot of followers. Is it her desire to get into politics? Was it her desire, or maybe somebody around her's desire, to say you need to go in and do this to highlight that, yeah, prices might be high in America, but not like these, you know, I don't know what they call these bougie, big, whatever, expensive stores. I don't even know the name of this store. I can't even pronounce it hardly. Parawan or something Juan, whatever. Okay, I've never been there in my entire life. I can't afford going to Santa Monica and going to that. Most of us in America have to go to Walmart or Smith's or Macy's or, you know, whatever store is near you. Right? Big Lots or whatever. Okay. And I'm just saying, so, you know, she lives a different life than us, but there's millions of kids out there like that have plenty of money. Maybe not even as wealthy as her, but they wouldn't think a thought about dropping $165 on a sweater. How do I know? Because those sweaters wouldn't be for sale at those kind of places unless enough people bought them to make sense, right? And so I kind of find this a sad tale where we're going to take this 18-year-old kid, launch her into the political space, attack her for being tone deaf. How much does she even know about the war or the Constitution or the division in MAGA or the Republican/Democrat partisan divide over these kind of things? How much does she really realize about the expense of things from the other perspective, the other side of the tracks, if you will? In other words, my life, my world versus hers. Or my life is fairly middle class. What about somebody who may even be in the poor classes? Certainly she doesn't get it. Certainly she doesn't really kind of understand. I don't think she's grown up in a way that she really understands our plights. But she's an 18-year-old kid. She wants to play golf. I don't know how this got drug into it being done in the first place. You got to also ask the question, you know, who did this video? Who approved it? Who edited it? Did she just do it all herself, really? And if so, I'd like to talk to her. I'd love to get Kai Trump on the air. Of course, I'm a nobody. So being a nobody, I can't get Kai on the air. How would I even contact anybody that could possibly get her on the air? CNN could, but no, they just do this video that turns it into a very political, weaponized video. Is it really great when we're suffering and there's a war and gas prices are so high for this to come out? Not really. I'm not saying it's awesome, but I'm defending her as a kid. I'm defending her as someone who said she didn't really want to be involved in politics, and for now I'm taking her at her word at that. And I'm also saying, you know what? That's the life that a lot of people live. There's all kinds of millionaires and billionaires out there that wouldn't think a thought about buying a whatever bottle of dates for $18. People do that kind of stuff all the time. Maybe they don't go to that expensive of a grocery store, but she was highlighting this is what the expensive world looks like. And is that for political reasons? You know, somebody would say, Sam, you're naive. Of course it was. You don't even understand this family, the optics. It's horrible optics, Sam. I understand all that. I also understand that she's an 18-year-old kid. She's not even out of high school yet, people. I also understand that, you know what, there are stores that are very high priced. There is a big disparity in America between the upper class and the middle/lower classes. The middle class is being hollowed out in our economy. Is it President Trump's fault? No, I don't think so. I think Trump's done a lot more to help with that than hinder it. But it's been the case for presidents left and right, Republican and Democrat, conservative and liberal, for decades. The hollowing out of the middle class relates to the Federal Reserve and to inflation and to all kind of other economic problems, such as government out-of-control spending and more, both sides of the aisle responsible. But are we going to take it out on Kai? I'd love to get her on the air. I wish I could, and I'd love to just talk to her and say, hey, you know, what was the video? What was the purpose of the video? Why did you release it? You know, did you hope to, you know, be involved in politics? Is this political, or was this just a personal thing you did that you thought was interesting and fun? I'd love to know what makes her tick, and I'd love to know what's behind it, but I'll never get that chance. Now will I?
Pursuing liberty, using the Constitution as our guide. You're listening to Liberty News Radio.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Greg Clugston in Washington. The United States will release 172 million barrels of oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve in a bid to combat steep prices. Oil prices remained well below Monday's peak, but the price of Brent crude, the international standard, was still up about 20% yesterday and briefly today back up again over $100 a barrel. A U.S. official says outdated intelligence likely that led to the U.S. carrying out a deadly missile strike on an elementary school in Iran, killing over 165 people. Meanwhile, the Pentagon has told Congress it cost more than $11 billion to conduct the first week of the war. President Trump took to the road yesterday, pushing his economic message and attacking a Republican critic.
President Trump traveled to Ohio and Kentucky Wednesday, touting his efforts to pressure drug makers into lowering drug prices, but he also found himself addressing the spike in gasoline prices prompted by the Iran war.
Prices are coming down very substantially. Oil will be coming down. That's just a matter of war.
He moved on to Kentucky, where he attacked Republican Congressman Thomas Massey.
We got to get rid of this loser.
Massey's been one of Trump's highest-profile GOP critics. Trump has endorsed Massey's primary challenger. I'm Ben Thomas.
At least 2 people were killed by tornadoes in northwest Indiana. This woman took shelter in her bathtub.
Not expecting this. Just thought it was a casual little storm like we always have in northwest Indiana. Tornado watch, saw it coming from Kankakee, thought it would dissipate and be gone. When my husband saw the clouds shifting this way, and then he looked that way and they were going this way, we knew we were in it.
Stocks taking a beating early on Wall Street. The Dow down 564. Townhall.com.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell, definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. Do you feel stupid for buying a timeshare? Don't. It's not your fault. You were most likely told you could rent it, and it was a great financial investment. And the deal was available today only. If this happened to you, contact your resort or Wesley Financial Group for help today.
Call Wesley now for your free exit information kit. 800-242-3131. 800-242-3131.
I'm Boomer Esiason. My mom died from cancer. She was only 37 years old. She didn't have life insurance, and that was devastating for my family. That's why having life insurance is so important to me. Ethos makes it fast and easy. Get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. You can get up to $3 million in coverage with no medical exam.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/save. That's ethos.com/save. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
As you are aware, America is divided over every fault line possible. This is intentionally fostered by those who do not love God, family, or country. We believe a peaceful future as a free people absolutely depends on civility. Clarion Call for Civility is looking for funding and volunteers at every level to make our hopes and efforts a reality. Please donate, sign our pledge, and help us in our sacred cause. Please visit callforcivility.com for more details. Callforcivility.com.
Introducing Managed IT Services from NPI. We offer top-notch data backup and recovery, email spam protection, and network security tailored to your needs and budget. With 20-plus years of experience in the medical field, our HIPAA-certified consultants know what it takes to protect sensitive information. Don't settle for less. Give us a call at 801-706-6980 and experience the difference with Managed IT Services. Remember, your IT support should be fast, efficient, and reliable.
The Foundation for Moral Law is a nonprofit legal foundation committed to protecting our unalienable right to publicly acknowledge God. The Foundation for Moral Law exists to restore the knowledge of God in law and government and to acknowledge and defend the truth that man is endowed with rights not by our fellow man, but by God. The Foundation maintains a twofold focus. First, litigation within state and federal courts. Second, education, conducting seminars to teach the necessity and importance of acknowledging God in law and government. How can you help? Please make a tax-deductible contribution, allowing Foundation attorneys to continue the fight. You may also purchase various Foundation products as well at morallaw.org. Located in Montgomery, Alabama, the Foundation for Moral Law is a nonprofit, tax-exempt 501c3 founded by Judge Roy Moore. Please partner with us to achieve this important mission. morallaw.org.
All right, back with you live, ladies and gentlemen. So this Kai Trump story I find fascinating. Everybody wants to attack her, and I think we need to lay off. She's a kid, for crying out loud. She's not even out of high school. I know technically she's over 18, and therefore she's an adult, and so the mainstream press believes, we can attack her because, but I don't know. They say, she came out in the Republican National Convention and spoke, therefore she's fair game for politics. I don't think so. You can say, she's tone deaf. She shouldn't have done the video. I don't know. I don't know why she did the video. Think about if you're a little kid, a young kid, barely old enough to vote. Don't know if she's even had the opportunity to vote yet, for that matter. And imagine if you just did a video and you, were highlighting the high prices at wherever you shop, Walmart, wherever. She's telling you that, hey, it's the most expensive grocery store. I don't know that she really realizes the ramifications, number one. Number two, I'd like to know why she did the video. What was her point? What was her purpose? Was it just for fun? Was it teenagers talking to teenagers kind of going, oh my gosh, look how crazy expensive this stuff is? Or was it a political master move by Trump and Donald Jr. and to use their daughter and granddaughter as a pawn to, whatever? See, I don't know why we're attacking her. At the most, you should say, man, that's poor taste video. Next, if you think that. I would love to talk to Kai Trump and have her on the air and discuss this and say, hey, you know what, Kai? This didn't come over very well. I'm sorry to hear that. You're getting a lot of blowback for this, but what was your intentions? Tell us who you are. Let's learn about Kai. You know what? You grew up Donald Trump's daughter. Your mom and dad got divorced. That's sad. I'm sorry to hear that. How is your life? And get to know her. And I'll tell you why. Because, when I hear about these leaders like Donald Trump, the president of the United States of America, he's very polarizing. He says things that I certainly would not say. But he's fine to get away with saying those things. I say things that I feel need to be said. And oftentimes what I say is not okay, right? And so we look at that and I go, but you know what? When I was able to interview Donald Trump Jr., in other words, Kai's father, on Super Tuesday 2016, when Trump got elected the first time. I'm not trying to say that I'm exclusively deserve credit for that. By no means am I saying that, but I am saying hopefully I helped. And you know what? Donald Trump Jr. came across as an incredibly nice guy. He didn't come across as super rich and untouchable or anything like that. We had a good time on the air. We discussed things. He even said he'd come back. Of course, now I don't have any way to have him come back because I don't know how to get a hold of anybody. I'm not part of the inside crowd. For a little bit, I had a few Trump surrogates that I was really able to talk to and connect with and get incredible Trump surrogates and other people on the air to really highlight what the administration thinks and believes and why. And I felt like it was incredible. And I felt like Donald Trump Jr. was a very nice guy. I was impressed with him. And then I was able to interview Eric Trump. That's Donald Trump Jr.'s brother and Donald Trump's other son. And you know what? I thought he was a nice guy too. And so I bring this up to say that I bet you if you get the whole story, it isn't as CNN positioned it. And I'm not here to attack CNN, but I am here to kind of say, come on, guys. When are we going to step back a little bit and try to make people human? Try to bring out differences in a meaningful way. And I believe that that's going to take a lot of work, but we can, as thought leaders, as media personnel, I hope we can change this game. I'll give you another story to kind of make the point. There's a big battle now between Megyn Kelly, Sirius XM talk host, and she defended Piers Morgan on her show against criticism from the Daily Wire's Ben Shapiro, who accused Morgan of hosting critics of Israel, including Dave Smith and Nick Fuentes, on his shows. So now you've got Ben Shapiro attacking Piers Morgan. You got Megyn Kelly coming to Piers' defense. Shapiro called Morgan a propagandist for Israel, while Morgan countered by labeling Shapiro as thriving on cancel culture. Now, I don't really want to pick sides in this debate because I'm not a fan of Piers. I'm certainly not a fan of Ben Shapiro. I used to be a fan of the Daily Wire. I really did. I thought, you know what? hey, we're Judeo-Christians in many ways. Let's give them a chance. But the problem is, when I went to TPUSA right before Christmas, Ben Shapiro spoke and literally just attacked and turned that whole TPUSA into kind of a feud. And personally, I was there, folks. I was in the room. And yes, I believe Ben went over the line, and then other people went kind of over the line defending themselves and this and that. But you know what? That Ben Shapiro battle with different people, whether it be Candace Owens or whether it be Piers Morgan or whatever, that was not, let me repeat 3 times, that was not what the TPUSA conference was that I attended. Yes, those speeches happened. Yes, there was a divide that was uncomfortable, that made everybody uncomfortable. But for the most part, when I was at the TPUSA event, it was a very peaceful, kind, loving, cheerful, respectful, educational event. It was awesome. I'm glad I went, and I'd go again. And so when you hear from the mainstream press, the Ben Shapiro speech or take, or that there was divisions, that's factual, but not truthful. Let me explain what I mean. Factual is, yes, they got the facts right. Ben did go off and attack Tucker Carlson and attack Candace Owens and attack different people. And then Tucker Carlson came on and defended himself, and some say he attacked back. And that's all true. Those are facts. But if you believe that's what the TPUSA conference was a feud fest, that isn't the truth. That isn't the truth at all. And so I bring that up because I'm not trying to take Megyn Kelly's side or Candace Owens' side or Ben Shapiro's side or Tucker Carlson's side or Piers Morgan's side. I'm not taking anybody's side. I'm just saying that let's dial it back, please. Kelly criticized Shapiro for being disingenuous and trying to monopolize opinions on Piers Morgan's show. Kelly also mentioned that her friendship with Shapiro ended after disagreements over handling criticism of Israel and dealing with conservative figures and views. So see, Ben Shapiro's super pro-Israel. Anybody who says anything negative about Israel, whether it's justified or not, is attacked by Ben Shapiro on the Daily Wire, right? She voiced her support for Piers Morgan for presenting balanced perspectives and challenging his guests. And I think there's something to that. We should do our best to have a balanced approach. I try to. I'm not that great at it, partially because I've got just me, Sam Bushman, to run the show, to gather all my own news, to find my guests and book my guests. And I'm not saying there's not a couple of people that run the show with me. There are, and they deserve credit, big time credit. They actually deserve probably more credit than I deserve. But I don't have a big staff, and it's very hard for me to get a lot of guests because it takes tons of time. And I have a day job, and I run whole networks. I don't just run my show. Many hosts just do their own show and their own stuff, and they plug into a broader group of people. I mean, I hear some of these shows, when they finish, they think 20, 30 people that are on the show helping out. I've got literally 3 or 4 people helping me, and they don't help me with all my guests and stuff. They just do the live production and editing and post-editing, and they deserve credit, don't get me wrong, but it's a tiny staff. But I would love to have on more guests and be more balanced. I'd love somebody to be able to get this highway hero on and just thank him on the air and say, you know what, this is a great human interest story of kindness and love thy neighbor as thyself. I'd love to get Kai on and try to dial it back or turn it down about the rhetoric saying, hey, she's tone deaf, as if she's some political hack that's out to just get everybody or to turn everything political. I don't think so. She's a teenage kid. She's not even out of high school. She's a golfer. Yeah, she's got a very polarizing grandpa and son, or father, I should say, and stuff. And she's, but is she really trying to be tone deaf and really trying to be political? And she said she didn't really want to even be in politics. She wants to be a golfer. I would like to dial it back and say, Piers, I don't agree with you on a lot of stuff, buddy, but you have the right to exist and to tell your story and to see things as you see them and articulate those things. So does Megyn Kelly. So does Ben Shapiro. So does Candace Owens. So does Tucker Carlson. So does, and I can keep going, Oh, even actually Sam Bushman. And I would like us all to be a little kinder and gentler to one another. I'd like us to humanize. See, I'd love to sit down with Ben Shapiro and talk about this. But hey, do you think I can get a hold of Ben? No, I don't have those kind of connections. How about get a hold of Tucker? How about get a hold of Candace? How about get a hold of Piers? How about get a hold of Megyn Kelly? How about, I can't get a hold of any of these people, but I'd love to sit down with all of them. And I'd try to discuss my book, A Clarion Call for Civility, and dial it on back a little bit. And say, you know what, I know you guys disagree on this and everything, but let's not fire so hard at everybody. Let's let everybody kind of have their views, and let's see if we can't find ways to make people human and have some respect and say we can agree to disagree agreeably. I'd love that. Can anybody help me get that opportunity, I might ask?
Introducing PrepStartsNow.com, your ultimate guide to readiness and peace of mind. We offer practical preparedness tools, training, and education to take your family's household readiness to the next level. Browse the prep shop for essential products, check out our planning guides, and stay informed with our prep blog. Visit PrepStartsNow.com and subscribe to our emails for exclusive offers, new products, and future events. Remember, preparedness begins with PrepStartsNow.com.
Former Sheriff Richard Mack recounts in his book The Proper Role of Law Enforcement, how he came to realize while working as a beat cop how wrong the all-too-common orientation of police officers is when they think of their job as being to write tickets and arrest people. Richard Mack tells of his personal transformation from by-the-number cop to Constitution-conscious defender of citizen safety and freedoms. Learn what it really means to serve and protect. Purchase your copy at CSPOA.org. That's CSPOA.org.
The runner on third takes a short lead. Elwood glances over. Now back to the plate. He sets the pitch. It's swung on strike three. They've won it. They have won it. World champions. Jim, what's it like down on the field?
John, it's a madhouse down here. I'm trying to get to Bob Elwood, the winning pitcher. Bob, how does it feel winning the seventh game on a strikeout?
Yeah, I thought he'd be looking for a slider, so I came on with my fastball.
World champions! Is this the greatest moment of your life?
Absolutely not. Jim, the best moments for me are breakfast with the kids, long walks with my wife, just holding her hand, you know?
Marriage. You're never too far apart when you're still holding hands. From your neighbors, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Jim, when was the last time you held your wife's hand?
Well, it's been a while.
I tell you need to step up to the plate, Jim.
For more tips on strengthening your marriage, visit family.mormon.org.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Sam Bushman, hoping everybody dials it back a little bit. I'm talking about these good news stories in contrast with some of the battling with one another stories. You know, a lot of times people choose these battles. They pick someone about their own, quote, stature in the media, and then they create kind of a fight. And whether those fights are true or not, it almost reminds me of like professional wrestling, where it's just fake and everything else. And it's just, you know, to garner viewers and listeners and rise people's political stature or whatever you want to call it, fame in the media. And I don't know if it's some of that, but I really hope people will dial it back. Let me give you another example. Joe Rogan now, probably the biggest talk show host in the world right now. Joe Rogan criticized President Donald J. Trump on his podcast episode released on Tuesday, expressing his disillusionment over Trump's decision to engage in war, despite for his campaign promise to not engage in foreign wars. Rogan contrasted the confusing Iran action, when, you know, the confusing part where we don't know really why we're there, what our real objectives are. That's not really been defined. Rubio and Trump and different people have said different things. That's of concern. But he compared that contrasting confusion over Iran with the clean operation against Maduro in Venezuela. And I find that an interesting comparison. Now, here's the bottom line, though. All the Republicans are going to be trashing Joe Rogan for this, right? He speculated, which, you know, maybe that's dangerous, but he has his opinions to which he's entitled, on potential influences on Trump, including Israel, war hawks, and suggested the likelihood of World War III. I'll be honest with you, I have fears that this war might persist and last way beyond what we expect or intend. This marks a shift in Joe Rogan's stance, ladies and gentlemen, because he was the pro-Trump dude. Remember, he endorsed Trump in 2024. Right-wing influencers and everybody else, were talking about it. Left-wing was very critical of Joe Rogan for endorsing Trump and bringing young men to the table right before the elections and all that, right? Anyway, and so here's the problem. Now everybody's going to be attacking Joe Rogan for that. Everybody attacks Joe Rogan and Tucker Carlson, probably two of the bigger talk show hosts in the country, because their views are that, hey, this is a war that we shouldn't have. I have those views. I think President Trump needed to go to Congress first. That's my opinion, which I've already explained. Because I think the Constitution matters. It's the supreme law of the land. Nevertheless, we're there in the war now, and I'm praying for peace for everybody, and I'm praying for a quick end to the hostilities, and I'm hoping for peace, okay? But Tucker has his views. Joe Rogan has his views. Megyn Kelly has her views. Ben Shapiro has his view. I mean, I can keep going. And they all have their own different perspectives. I would love to just let them have their different perspectives rather than attack one another. I've heard a lot of talk show hosts attacking Joe Rogan recently, saying he's lost his mind, he's out of touch, he doesn't know, Trump's doing an incredible job. And so why do we have to defend President Trump or attack President Trump? We can just say, hey, I think it was necessary. I'm glad that he, did what he did because our national security is at stake. Or, hey, I think that the Constitution, or I think, hey, he broke a promise. I mean, it's true. President Trump really did run on this peace idea. And now many do feel betrayed and that he's broke his promises. I personally am one of them. Okay. Nevertheless, I'm not going to hate on or try to attack those who believe that he did what he had to do, that there might have been a preemptive strike that he was privy to that he claims and we don't know about, or other reasons that it makes sense. Or if you just say, hey, Iran's been a problem forever, it's time to get it done and solve the problem. Many people feel that way. But see, I would love to get all these people on the radio and TV with me and talk about it. I'd love to get this Renee guy on, who's, in my opinion, this highway hero. What were you thinking while this went down? How did you keep your calm? And how did you just do such a great, I mean, I know he says, I just have an instinct to care for people. That's great. But I'd love to hear that from an inside story. But I don't know how to track this Renee guy down. It'd be very difficult for me to get that done. It would take so much time. Kai Trump, I'd love to talk to her and say, hey, what made you do that video? And see what made that tick. I think Americans would be interested in that. I'd love to talk to Sirius XM host Megyn Kelly and Piers Morgan and Ben Shapiro and say, do we really have to have this pile-on attack on Ben, or Ben pile on Piers, or, everybody pile on Nick Fuentes? You can say, well, Nick Fuentes is a bad guy. He's a racist. Sammy's a hostile guy. He's a Jew hater. He's an Israel hater. He's a bad guy. Hold on a minute. Isn't Nick Fuentes a son of Almighty God? Just like you and I, or unless you're a daughter, right, of God. But, okay, now I disagree with Nick on a lot of things, but I disagree with Megyn Kelly on a lot of things. I disagree with Ben Shapiro on a lot of things. I disagree with Piers Morgan, but can't I? What if I were to talk to them? What if they had me on their shows to bring the idea of civility and to dial it back and to take a step back and say, we don't have to make this personal. We can talk about this, and we can also have different opinions. What makes you have these people on, Piers Morgan or Tucker Carlson? And they would say, because we want a balanced approach. And then Ben Shapiro would say, yeah, but these people are bad, evil people. You got to draw the line somewhere. Okay, we respect your opinion on that, Ben Shapiro. You have the right to feel like those people aren't, worthy of being on your shows, per se. But that doesn't mean we all feel that way. And it's okay for Ben to feel as he does. It's okay for Tucker or Piers or Megyn Kelly to have their feelings. Candace is attacking TPUSA, and, I don't agree with a lot of her views, but you know what? She has every right. She's articulate. She can say what she thinks, and she has a big following of people who have those concerns. When are you now using whatever you do in the media? Here's the important question. When are you using what you do in the media to just get, it's called clickbait in the industry. When are you using it for clickbait? When are you using it just to get followers? And a lot of these different disputes between people, Piers Morgan and Megyn Kelly, whatever. Is that just an effort to increase both of their statures in the media? It might be. I don't know. It might be a genuine, they're concerned or whatever. But I don't want to take off the late night comedian talk hosts. I don't want to take off Ben Shapiro. I don't want to take off Piers Morgan or Megyn Kelly or any of these people, Tucker Carlson or Joe Rogan or anybody. Let them have their opinions. Let's just try to help everyone dial it back in terms of the personal attacks. So now Joe Rogan criticized President Trump. President Trump now going to be mad about that. Fire back, I'm sure. Trump trashes Thomas Massey. Says he's a big loser. He's a loser. He's a disaster. In the Kentucky district, says Donald Trump, as he does his very best to put millions into the campaign to defeat Thomas Massey. Trump called Rep. Thomas Massey, who is, by the way, a Kentucky Republican. He called him a disaster who voted against key initiatives such as tax cuts and the war on Iran. Well, do we want to attack Massey? Why did he vote against the tax cuts? Is it that Thomas Massey doesn't want tax cuts? Now, I know Thomas Massey stands pretty good. I don't think he's against tax cuts. He's just against the big, beautiful bill because of the spending in it. But, of course, with Trump's attacks, you'll never hear that. See, I'd love to get Thomas Massey on to discuss that. President Donald Trump blasted Thomas Massey as the worst person and a total disaster. Now, Massey's run afoul of Trump over taxes, over the war, over the Epstein files, several reasons. Okay? Trump says Massey's the worst person. Yeah, he was at a rally. He says he's a complete and total disaster as a congressman and, frankly, as a human being. See, in my opinion, I don't know that Trump should be saying that. It's one thing to say we disagree on this. It's another thing to say, hey, I'm going to get somebody to run against you. That's fine, too. He has every right. But to say he's a disaster as a person? All right. Now, the House has 218 Republicans, 214 Democrats with 3 seats vacant. So it's very, very close. Massey, they say, becomes a key vote when he signs with Democrats. Again, why are we playing partisan politics? It's not about the Republicans or the Democrats. It's not about Donald. He says we've got to get rid of this, quote, loser. He said of Massey. He's disloyal to the Republican Party. He's disloyal to Kentucky. And he's disloyal to the United States of America, Trump says. See, I don't think that's fair. I think he's loyal. He votes with the Constitution all the time. More than anybody else. Trump says he's got to be voted out of office as soon as possible. Now, Trump endorsed this other guy. But here's the deal. I want to get down to the end of the story because it goes on and on and on about Trump attacking Massey. Thomas Massey says, hey, Congress holds the power to declare war, and Trump hasn't met those requirements. That's my problem with it. He says, hey, I'm for lower taxes, but the problem is that was a spend us into oblivion, big, beautiful bill. I can't vote for that spending. He says, American families in my district want to know, how is this going to help them pay for groceries? Massey said on the House floor, how does this make them any safer in their schools, in their houses? Massey then said in an interview, before Trump posted these last attack comments against Massey, that he welcomes the president to his district because they share a lot of the same stories and views, the same supporters. He says, I take care never to insult the president, to never call him names. I'm going to just keep it at that. I'm not going to call the president names, and I'm not going to attack the president. I hope Thomas Massey holds the line on that. I'd love to get Thomas Massey on and talk about it. I'd love to see if we can't help all of us dial it on back. I'm not perfect at it either. I'll be the first to say I'm guilty, and I got to repent and change. I've been working on it since I wrote the article about this in 2015. Hey, folks, we've got a whole cultural change, and it doesn't happen overnight. It's going to take a generation or two. But let's get to work, shall we? I'm Sam Bushman. Thanks for being alongside for the ride. Promoted on LibertyNewsRadio.com, okay? And LibertyRoundTable.com. I'm Sam Bushman. God save the Republic of the United States of America.